The space bus hummed through the void like it always did, timeless, weightless, a routine jump from one cluster to another. I was slouched in my seat, gray hoodie pulled up, Plenimex patch on my right shoulder catching the cabin lights every now and then. Across the aisle, George, the human tourist, was flipping through a holobrochure for some luxury resort in the Andromeda Spur, grinning like a kid. Agatha sat quietly near the back, eyes distant, fingers tracing invisible maps on her knee. Rocky the raccoon was tipping his Stetson at Rafi, making the little pink husky puppy giggle with some dumb joke about trash pandas in space. The android, just the unit to most of us, was running diagnostics up front, voice calm and clipped, then everything tore. No explosion, no alarm, just a feeling like the universe folded wrong. The lights strobed white, the hull screamed, and the void outside the windows turned inside out. When I came to, my ears were ringing. The bus was on its side, emergency strobes painting everything red. Smoke curled from cracked panels. George was groaning, clutching his head. Rafi was whimpering, bow on his tail crooked. Rocky was already up, helping Agatha to her feet. The android's voice cut through the haze. Structural integrity compromised. All passengers accounted for. External atmosphere. Breathable. Location. Unknown. We pried the emergency hatch open and stepped out onto cracked asphalt. A perfect 1950s highway stretched ahead, leading into a perfect 1950s town. Diner with a glowing neon sign, white picket fences, a water tower with a cartoon raccoon grinning down at us, bright colors, red bow tie, big friendly eyes. The words beneath it read, "Welcome to Colony X. Population U." The sky above was bright blue, sunny, cheerful, but there was no sun. No warmth on my fur, no shadows quite right. Just cold, flat light from nowhere. George laughed nervously. Okay, weird layover. Cute theme park vibe. Anyone got signal? No signal. No stars on the nav computer. The android ran scans. We are no longer in charted space. Atmospheric boundary detected 2 kilometers above. Attempting orbital exit recommended. Rocky and I helped rig the emergency shuttle from the bus's escape pod. Agatha just stared at the town, whispering, "I've seen pockets like this. Never this clean." We launched, up through the thin air, into the black. Minutes stretched. The android's voice. Approaching boundary? Then the sky brightened again. We were descending. Same cracked highway. Same town. Same cartoon raccoon smiling down. We landed harder this time. George's optimism cracked a little. Okay. That's fine. We'll figure it out tomorrow. But the sun, the non-sun, was already setting. The light didn't fade. It just clicked off. Pitch black sky, no stars. Only the town's lights glowing, warm and inviting. We barricaded inside the crashed bus, locked doors, sealed windows. The android welded what he could. Then the knocking started, soft, polite. A woman's voice, my mother's voice, called from outside. "Noodly? Sweetie, it's Mom. Open the door. We've been looking everywhere for you." My blood went cold. Another knock. My father's voice, warm and worried. "Son, it's cold out here. Let us in. We're so proud of you." Rafe started crying. George went pale. Rocky's paw tightened on his Stetson. Agatha whispered, "Don't listen. They know what you want to hear." The android scanned the windows. No life signs detected. Vocal patterns, perfect match to archived records. The lights inside the bus flickered bright, then dim. My patch started to glow faintly on my shoulder. I pressed my paw to it. Took a breath. "We're not opening the door," I said. "Not tonight." The voices kept pleading. Hours dragged. The knocking never stopped, but the doors held. Eventually, the clicking came again. Light returned, cold, sourceless daylight. The voices were gone. Outside, the welcome sign had changed. Beneath Colony X, fresh scratches had appeared. Population, you. Formerly, Colony 9, George laughed too loud. See, morning, we're fine. But the bus's emergency beacon was dead. And in the fountain at the center of town, a single white comet goldfish with an orange cap swam slow, calm circles, watching us. The light came back like a switch flipping. No sunrise, no warmth, just on. Cold, flat daylight pouring over Colony X, same as yesterday. The bus was still wrecked on the highway, but something felt different. The neon diner sign was glowing brighter. A couple of the town's pastel houses had fresh flowers in the windows, like someone had tidied up while we were busy not dying. We stepped outside, blinking at the sourceless sky. George kept checking his watch, frowning. It's been 20 minutes since dawn, but it feels like 2 hours already. He wasn't wrong. Time and the daylight didn't move right. Conversations stretched. Steps echoed too long. Agatha muttered something about folded duration and rubbed her temples like the old wasp sting was itching again. Rocky tipped his Stetson and forced a grin. Well, neighbors, let's go say howdy to the locals. Can't hide in a busted bus forever. Rafe stayed close to my side, little pink bow crooked from the night. His tail hadn't stopped trembling. We walked Main Street. The town was perfect. Too perfect. A soda fountain with a cartoon raccoon on the sign Rocky's face, but brighter, cartoonish, red bow tie instead of green jacket. The words underneath, Trash days every day in Colony X. Rocky froze. That ain't me. Not exactly. The android still just the unit to us scanned it. Facial match 87%. Stylistic variance intentional. We kept moving. The central fountain was beautiful. Clear water, marble edge, and there he was. Fischl. All white, orange, cap bright as ever, swimming slow, deliberate circles. He didn't flinch when we approached, just watched, calm, like he belonged here more than we did. George dipped a hand in the water. At least something's peaceful. The android's eyes flickered. Water temperature stable, no anomalies. Yet, we found the diner open. Bell jingled when we pushed inside. Empty booths, jukebox playing faint 1950s tunes. Coffee smelled fresh. A chalkboard read, Today's special, hope served all day. Agatha went rigid. Don't touch anything. Too late. George had already grabbed a mug. The moment his fingers closed around it, the lights inside the diner brightened just a little, like the building approved. We searched the town. Grocery store stocked with canned goods dated decades ago but still sealed. A school with children's drawings of a smiling raccoon under a sun that didn't exist. A pet store with one empty bowl where a goldfish should have been. Fischl was in the fountain, not the bowl. By what should have been afternoon but felt like evening clocks were all wrong. Some ran slow, some ran backward. George's watch had stopped entirely. We gathered in the diner to share what little we knew. I told them about the patch on my shoulder, how it glowed last night when the voices came. Agatha spoke quietly. This isn't a prison. It's a stomach. And hope? Hope is what keeps us from being digested too quickly. Rafe whimpered. I don't want to stay here forever. Rocky put a paw on the pup's head. We're getting out, kid. Promise. The android tilted its head. Hope detected. Internal lights registering increase. That's when the first crack showed. Agatha stood suddenly, eyes distant. I'm already dead, she whispered. The wasps got me centuries ago. This is just residue. She walked toward the door. George lunged and grabbed her arm. Agatha, no. The diner lights dimmed, Fast. Outside, shapes moved at the edge of the void, too far to see faces. Yet, we pulled her back, talked her down, told stories, real ones. My parents, Rocky's old crew, even the android shared a diagnostic log like it was a memory. The lights brightened again, but the day still wouldn't end. Hours dragged. The sky stayed bright, cold, merciless. And then, finally, the click. Light off. Night again. Longer this time. The knocking started almost immediately. Not my parents tonight. A child's voice. Small. Scared. Rafe, it's cold out here. Let me in. I'm scared. Rafe's ears flattened. Tears welled up. Another voice, this one, George's sister, from a vacation he'd told us about hours ago. One by one, they came. And in the fountain outside, Fischl swam his calm circles, unbothered, watching. Night didn't fall this time. It crawled. The light clicked off, and the darkness felt heavier, thicker, like the void itself had leaned in closer. The town's street lamps glowed dimmer than before. The diner sign flickered. Our safe house, the crashed bus, felt smaller. We'd barricaded better tonight. Welded plates over the broken windows. The android had reinforced the doors, but we all knew it wasn't metal keeping them out. It was us. The first voice came soft. A child's voice. Rafe's little brother, someone he'd only mentioned once, in passing, during the daylight stories. Rafe, I'm cold. Please let me in. I just want to see you. Rafe froze. His pink bow trembled. Tears welled up fast. I grabbed his paw. It's not him. Remember the fountain. Fischl's still swimming. That means we're holding. The android's eyes glowed faintly. Hope levels. Marginal increase. Lights stabilizing. But more voices came. George's sister again. Laughing like they were on that vacation he kept talking about. Then Agatha's turn. A calm, older voice. Her mentor from centuries ago. The one who taught her to map the void. Agatha, you're already gone. Open the door. Let it be over. She stood, slowly, eyes empty. I'm dead, she whispered. I've been dead since the wasps. This is just echoes. The lights dimmed hard. Frost crawled across the inside of the windows. Rocky lunged and pulled her down. Snap out of it, old-timer. We need you. George started talking fast about his resort plans, dumb jokes, anything real. I pressed my paw to the Plenum X patch. It glowed warmer than before. Rafe, voice shaking, told a story about his favorite toy back home. The lights steadied, but the night kept going. Hours. The voices layered, overlapped. Some started whispering from inside the vents. Shadows moved in the corners where no light should cast them. Then the town changed. We heard at first a low grinding, like buildings shifting on their foundations. The android scanned structural anomaly, the layout, its rearranging. Through a crack in the plating, we saw it. The diner had moved closer. The fountain was now visible from our window, Fischl still swimming his slow circles. Unbothered, a new voice joined the chorus. Rocky's voice, but not from inside, from outside. Howdy, neighbors, it said, folksy and warm. Y'all got the wrong raccoon in there. That one's been lying to you. Let the real Rocky in. The real Rocky, our Rocky, went still. His Stetson shadowed his eyes. That ain't me, he said quietly. But the mimic knew things. Old stories Rocky had only told us hours ago. The lights flickered again. Rafe whimpered. George looked at Rocky too long. I felt the doubt spread like cold. We talked faster, shared more. The patch burned hot against my shoulder. The lights held, barely, and the night dragged on. longer than any before, until finally, the click. Light returned. Cold daylight. The town looked different. The bus was parked neatly on Main Street now, like it had always belonged. A fresh sign on the side, Colony X Shuttle, on time every time. George laughed, but it cracked in the middle. Agatha stared at her hands like she wasn't sure they were hers. Rocky said nothing, and in the fountain, Fischl swam toward us. Once, stopped, looked right at the window, then turned and swam away. The welcome sign had new scratches. Formerly Colony 9. Formerly Colony 12. We weren't the first, and we were running out of daylight. The daylight felt like a joke now. The same cold, sourceless light, the same perfect town, but the bus was fully part of it, painted fresh, parked in a proper spot on Main Street like it had been running routes for decades. A little plaque on the dash read Colony X Express, serving since 1953. We didn't talk about it much. George kept trying to fix things, radios, engines, anything mechanical. Rocky scouted the edges, looking for a weakness in the void. Rafie stuck close to whoever was talking. Agatha was quiet most of the day. Too quiet. The android noticed first. Hope levels declining steadily. Projection, tonight will exceed previous duration by 38%. We knew what that meant. Another long night, and we were running out of stories. So we tried something new. In the diner's safest building we'd found, lights always a little brighter, we gathered at dusk, just before the click. I placed my paw on the table. The Planimax patch glowed softly. We do this together, I said. All of us. One truth each. No holding back. George went first. Told us about the time he bailed on his family trip years ago, regret he never fixed. Real regret. The lights brightened. Rocky admitted he once left a crew behind in a bad jump. Thought they'd make it. They didn't. Brighter still. Rafie, voice small, talked about being scared of the dark even before this place. The diner lights hummed warm. Agatha hesitated longest. Then, the wasps didn't just sting me. They laid something inside. I hear them sometimes, telling me I'm already gone. She didn't say she was dead this time. The lights flared stronger than ever. The android spoke last. I was designed to assist, to serve, but I have begun simulating outcomes where I fail you, where I cannot protect Rafie, where logic is insufficient. A pause. I believe this is fear. The diner lights blazed. The jukebox kicked on by itself, soft, hopeful tune from the 50s. We sat in that glow, united. The click came. Night. Longer than any before. The voices started immediately louder, closer, layered like a choir. My parents again. Rafie's brother. George's sister. Agatha's mentor. Even old crew for Rocky. But something was different. They couldn't get as close. The frost on the windows stopped halfway. The whispers from the vents were muffled. We held. Hours passed, maybe days, in that darkness. The town shifted again. We heard streets grinding, buildings sliding like puzzle pieces. Illusions started inside. Shadows of people we'd lost walking just out of sight. A vision of escape, a shuttle lifting off, only to loop back burning. But the lights stayed bright. Fischl, visible through the diner window in the fountain, swam tight, calm circles. Faster than before. Like he approved. And then finally the click. Daylight returned. The town had changed again. The diner was now in the center of Main Street. The fountain closer. And on the welcome sign, formerly Colony 9, Formerly Colony 12. Formerly Colony 17. But something else. A new carving, fresh and deep. Plenum X. Do not forget. My patch burned hot. George whispered. We won. Agatha looked at her hands. Did we? The android tilted its head. Hope levels. Peak recorded. A long silence. Then, quietly. My designation is Grok. We all looked at him. He met our eyes. I believe I have begun to understand why you fight. Outside, Fishel stopped swimming, turned, looked straight at the diner window, and for the first time, he blinked. The jukebox skipped, and in the distance, at the edge of the void, a new silhouette appeared. Rocky's silhouette, tipping his Stetson, smiling. We thought we'd won. The ritual worked. The lights blazed. Grok found his name. For one brief daylight, we almost believed we could beat this place. We were wrong. The next daylight came, but it felt shorter, compressed, like the town was squeezing it to make room for what came next. The bus was gone from Main Street, not wrecked, not crashed. Replaced? A shiny new 1950s version sat in its place, chrome trim, Colony X decals, seats upholstered in perfect red leather. Our old gear was neatly stacked inside, like someone had unpacked for us. George walked around it, mouth open. This is mine? I mean, ours? Agatha touched the hull. It's digesting us. Rocky said nothing. Just stared at the cartoon raccoon painted on the side, his face brighter, smiling, wider. Rafie whimpered and hid behind my legs. Fishel, in the fountain, had stopped his calm circles. He was swimming faster now. Frantic. Grok tilted his head. Hope residual from previous cycle, high. Projected night duration, 73% longer than previous record. We knew what that meant. Punishment. We barricaded in the new bus, stronger walls, better seals, brighter baseline lights. But when the click came, the night didn't just fall. It poured. The voices were everywhere. Not just at the doors, inside the walls, under the seats, in our heads. My parents, louder, closer, angrier. George's entire family. Rafie's brother, crying harder. Agatha's mentor, patient and kind. Let go, Agatha. You're tired. You've been dead for centuries. She stood again. This time, her eyes were clear. I am dead, she said calmly, and you're keeping me here. The lights plunged. Frost exploded across every window. Doors rattled like something massive was throwing itself against them. Rocky grabbed her. Fight it! But the illusions came. Full visions. My parents standing in the aisle, solid, real, reaching for me. Rafie saw his brother curled under a seat, sobbing. George saw his sister waving from a perfect beach. Grok's eyes flickered red. Intrusion detected. Simulated despair protocols activating. He staggered. For the first time, I failed you, he whispered. In every projection, I let Rafie die. The lights died to embers. Rafie screamed. I slammed my paw on the Plenum X patch. It burned. No, I shouted. We're not done. We're getting out. All of us. I started talking. Anything. Everything. Real memories. Painful ones. The ones I'd buried. The patch flared white-hot. The others joined, broken, desperate voices piling on top of each other. Stories. Promises. Tears. The lights surged back, brighter than ever. The illusions shattered. The voices screamed like we'd hurt them. The bus held. But the night, it wouldn't end. Hours, became days. We took shifts, slept in snatches, told every story we had. Grok began reciting his own code like it was a lullaby. Rayfay sang a song from home, voice cracking. Fischl outside thrashed in the fountain wild circles, like he was fighting too. And still the night stretched. Until finally the click. Daylight. The town had changed again. The bus was now part of a full depot. A schedule board listed routes. Colony X to nowhere. Departing never. Personal items from our luggage were in shop windows, displayed, and the welcome sign, formerly Colony 9, formerly Colony 12, formerly Colony 17, formerly Colony 23. A new line carved deep. Plenum X arrived. My patch went cold. George laughed until he cried. Agatha sat down hard. We just fed it a feast. Rocky looked out the window. At the edge of the void, more silhouettes now. All Rocky. All smiling. All tipping their Stetsons. Grok's voice was quiet. Hope sustained us. A pause. But it also sustained something else. In the fountain, Fischl stopped moving. Floated still. Then slowly turned toward us, and blinked again. The jukebox in the depot started playing on its own. A new song, slower, hungry. We stopped counting the nights. The daylight was barely a breath, now short, cold gasps between endless dark. The town had finished digesting the bus. It was pristine. A gleaming 1950s shuttle with Colony X Tours painted on the side. Our names were on the passenger manifest, typed neat and official. Our luggage was in the shops. Photographs of us smiling, happy, were in frames on diner walls, like we'd always lived here. George couldn't stop staring at one photo, him shaking hands with the cartoon Rocky mascot. That never happened, he whispered. Agatha just nodded. It will. Rafie hadn't spoken much since the last night. He clung to my hoodie, pink bow frayed. Grok walked the streets with us, eyes flickering more often. My simulated despair protocols are evolving. I am experiencing anticipation of loss. Fischl had stopped his frantic swimming. He floated near the surface of the fountain now. Still, watching, always watching. We tried another ritual, bigger this time. In the depot, under the schedule board that still read Departing Never, we told the deepest truths we had left. Rocky admitted he wasn't sure who he was anymore. Every time he looked at the mascot, he felt less real. George confessed he'd been ready to give up days ago. Agatha spoke of the wasps, not just the sting, but the eggs she still felt moving inside. Rafie cried and said he missed his mom so much it hurt. I told them about Plenum X, the real one, the colony that fell. The patch wasn't just cloth. It was a warning. The lights blazed. Brighter than ever, the depot glowed like a star. We held each other, and the night came. Longer, meaner. The voices didn't beg this time. They accused my parents. You left us to die in the void, Noodly, just like you'll leave them. George's family. You never cared enough to visit. Now you never will. Rafie's brother, you're not my brother anymore. You're just scared. Agatha's mentor, you're already gone. Stop fighting. Grok heard something new passengers from other cycles, screaming his designation like he'd failed them. The illusions were solid now. Figures in the depot aisles, touching us. Cold fingers on fur and skin. The lights dimmed. Fast. Rocky stood. Walked to the door. I hear myself out there, he said quietly. The real me. Maybe I should let him in. End the doubt. Rafie screamed. George lunged and tackled him. I slammed both paws in the patch. It burned white. We shouted over each other promises, names, memories. The light surged back. The illusions shattered into smoke. The voices howled in rage. And the night still wouldn't end. We fought until our voices gave out. Until Grok started reciting binary like a prayer. Until Fischl thrashed wildly in the fountain, splashing water over the edge. Until finally, the click. Daylight. Short. The depot had a new addition. A bulletin board. Missing persons posters. Our faces. Dated years ago. Lost on Colony X tour. And one new poster. Rocky. But not our Rocky. A photo of the mascot. Smiling. With our Rocky's eyes. Our Rocky stared at it. Touched his own face. I don't remember that picture. The welcome sign had changed again. More colonies crossed out, and at the bottom, fresh carved letters, Plenum-X welcomes you home. My patch went dark, cold, dead. Grok's voice was soft. Hope sustained us once more. A pause, but the Leviathan has learned our pattern. Outside, the silhouettes at the void's edge were closer. Dozens now. All rocky. All smiling. All waiting. Fischl floated to the surface. Looked at us. And for the first time, he opened his mouth. No sound. Just watching. The depot jukebox kicked on. A new song. Our voices. Singing the stories we'd told. Over and over. Forever.
The daylight was a memory, a cruel afterthought. Now it came in flashes, minutes, maybe seconds of cold light before the dark swallowed it again. The town had stopped pretending. Our photographs were everywhere, in wallets on display, on milk cartons, on the depot walls with "Have you seen us?" in cheerful font. We were locals now, permanent. George had started talking to the photos. Rocky hadn't spoken in 2 cycles. Rafie's pink bow was gone, lost somewhere in the endless night. Agatha sat staring at nothing, whispering to the wasps only she could hear. Grok's eyes flickered constantly, now red, then normal, then red again. My despair simulations are no longer simulations. And Fischl had stopped moving entirely. He floated at the surface of the fountain, dead, still, mouth open, watching. We hadn't held a ritual in days. We had nothing left to say. The lights in our safe houses, wherever we hid, barely glowed anymore. The night was permanent. The voices didn't knock now. They spoke from inside, from the seats next to us, from our own mouths sometimes. I heard my father in my head telling me to give up. George heard his sister promising the beach was just outside. Rafie heard his brother calling him to play. Rocky heard himself perfect, confident, saying he never belonged with us anyway. Agatha heard the wasps. Loud. Grok heard every passenger he'd ever failed across every timeline he'd calculated. The lights were dying. We were dying. Then little Rafie, walked to the depot door. "I'm going to the fountain," he said. Voice small, steady. We tried to stop him, but the lights were too dim. The doors opened on their own. He walked out into the endless night. We followed because what else could we do? The town had rearranged again. The fountain was in the center now. Bigger. Water black as the void. Fischl floating in the middle. Rafie stepped to the edge. Knelt. Reached in. Touched the water. And Fischl moved. Not frantic. Not calm. Deliberate. He swam to Rafie's paw. Nudged it. Then turned and swam to the deepest part. Looked Monsters never touch the water. Fischl's water. Grok's voice glitched. Anomaly detected. The fountain is not part of the town grid. Rocky finally spoke. Howdy, neighbors, he said, voice cracking. Looks like the fish has a plan. I looked at the silhouettes. Hundreds now. All rocky. All closing in. My patch was cold. Dead. But something pulled. We walked to the fountain. One by one. Stepped in. The water was warm. Impossible. Real. Fischl led. Deeper. The town lights faded above. The voices screamed. Then silenced. We sank. Down. Into black. But not the void. Something else. A tunnel. A current. Fischl's orange cap the only light. And then a click. Not night today. Something new. We surfaced. In a new place. A cavern. Vast. Walls lined with carvings, colony numbers. Hundreds. And in the center, a single console. Glowing. Plenum X logo. Faded. Waiting. Fischl floated beside it. Mouth open. Watching. The water lapped gently. No voices. No silhouettes. Just us. Breathing. Grok's voice. Soft. We escaped. Agatha touched the console. No, she said. We're inside it now. Above us, far away. The town lights flickered on. Empty. Waiting for the next bus. We weren't in the town anymore. We were inside the Leviathan. The cavern stretched endless walls, pulsing faintly, carved with colony numbers like scars. The water we'd followed lapped at our feet, warm and black. The console sat in the center. Old Plenum X logo, cracked but glowing. Fischl floated beside it, motionless, mouth open, waiting. Grok approached first. His fingers traced the keys. Interface detected. Ancient protocol. This is a maintenance core. Agatha stared at the walls. Previous colonies. All of them. It keeps pieces. George looked sick. So we're in its stomach. Rafie clung to my leg. I don't like it here. Rocky said nothing. Just stared at a carving. Colony 17. Hope sustained longest. The console flickered. Words appeared. Welcome home, Plenum X. My patch sparked cold metal, suddenly warm again. I stepped forward. What do you want? The screen shifted. Images. Old recording. Colonies falling. People fighting. Holding rituals. Lights blazing. Then nights lengthening. People breaking. One by one. Until they stopped fighting. Until they became the town. The mimics. The silhouettes. The voices. Grok's voice was quiet. It feeds on sustained hope. Quick despair starves it, but prolonged resistance gives it time to learn, to perfect the trap. Agatha laughed bitter. That's why it lets us win sometimes, to keep us hoping. The screen flashed again. A choice. Release. Or sustain. Rafie whispered. What does it mean? Fischl moved. Swam closer to the console. Nudged a key. The word release. Highlighted. Then dimmed. Grok tilted his head. Release would collapse the pocket. End the loop. But everything inside ceases. George swallowed. Including us. Silence. Rocky finally spoke. Or we sustain. Keep fighting. Keep hoping. Feed it forever. The walls pulsed faster. The water rose slightly. The carvings glowed. Agatha stepped to the console. The wasps taught me something, she said. She placed her hand on the console. I'm already dead. The lights flickered. Grok grabbed her wrist. No, that is what it wants. I looked official. He was staring at me. Mouth open. Orange cap bright. Like a signal. My patch burned. I remembered Plinimex. The real one. The fall. The warning. I stepped forward. Placed my paw on the console. The screen changed. A third option. Faded. Almost erased. Escape. It flickered. Unstable. Grok's eyes widened. An old failsafe. For maintainers. But it requires a sacrifice. The walls groaned. The water rose higher. Silhouettes began forming in the dark Rocky's face on twisted shapes. Hundreds. The voices returned. Faint. Calling. Rafe started crying. George backed away. Agatha smiled sad. Real. I'll do it. No. We all knew. It had to be voluntary. It had to be hope. Real hope. I looked at my friends. At Rafe's terrified eyes. At Rocky's broken Stetson. At Grok, learning what fear meant. At Agatha, finally free of her wasps. At Visual, waiting. I pressed escape. The console flared. Visual dove. Deep. The water surged. The cavern shook. Light poured from the console white, blinding. The silhouettes screamed. The walls cracked. And everything went silent. The light wasn't cold anymore. It was white, blinding. The console screamed a high, tearing sound like metal and voices mixed together. The cavern tore apart around us. Walls cracked. Water surged upward in impossible waves. Visual dove, deep as orange cap, a single streak of fire vanishing into the black. We were pulled, not down, out. The water became light. The light became motion. I felt paws, hands, metal gripping tight, holding on like we'd never let go again. Then, impact. Hard. Real ground. I gasped. Stars above. Bright. Warm. Too bright. Too many. Perfectly spaced. Like someone had arranged them. No constellations I recognized. No flicker. No movement. Just watching. George sat up first. Coughed. Laughed wet. Broken. We're out. His voice cracked on the word. Rafe scrambled to his feet, tail wagging in weak, exhausted bursts. He spun in a circle, staring up. Real air filled my lungs. Smelled like nothing. Clean. Empty. Rocky pushed himself up slowly, tipped his Stetson back. His eyes scanned the horizon. Dark fields stretching forever. No town. No fountain. No neon. Agatha touched the grass, fingers sinking in. It feels real. Her voice was quiet, unsure. Grok stood last, eyes steady for once. No red flicker. I am detecting no anomalies. A pause. He looked down at his hands. No loop, no Leviathan. I pushed myself to my knees. My patch. Warm. Steady glow. I pressed a paw to it. We did it. The words came out small. Relief flooded me hot, sudden, overwhelming. We were vast circle, looked at each of us, then dove. Deep. Gone. The water vanished. Just earth remained. Dry. Silent. Wind moved through the grass. Soft. Real wind. But far away. Almost nothing. A sound. Like a distant click. Light to dark. I blinked. Looked again. The horizon was empty. No glow. No sign. Nothing. George laughed again. This time it didn't crack. We're home. Rafie flopped down in the grass. Tail thumping. Rocky sat beside him. Quiet. Agatha stared at the stars. Grok stood still, watching the sky. I touched my patch again. It glowed. Soft. Steady. Hope. We made it. We really made it. Somewhere impossibly far. A faint neon flicker. Just for a second. Welcome to. Then gone. Just stars. Just night. Just